So back when it was first introduced, the MacBook Air was something of a niche product. But, lo and behold, Apple has gone and done something rather interesting. The MacBook no longer exists. The MacBook Air has become its replacement. Specifically, as far as price point's concerned, they've replaced it with the $999 model with the 11-inch MacBook Air. So there's not a single computer in Apple's lineup that is not made of the all-aluminum unibody enclosure, which is one of the things, for those of you who do not know, I do have an Air on my wish list, the 13-inch 256GB solid-state disk. I would not have put it on the wish list this year, except my current MacBook is starting to act up. I'm not going to bother going into details, except that I do think it's time for an upgrade given its age and its lack of AppleCare support. Plus, a friend of mine is going to be getting this once I can get it fixed up. But I just don't think that I myself could make active daily use of it, given the unexpected lockups and other things that have been happening to it. So, plus I really, really want that solid-state disk. I've already gone through at least one hard drive, and thinking back, I might need to end up replacing the hard drive again. Not saying that will happen, but I'm saying I'm playing the just-in-case card here. That's something I hadn't thought about when I made my earlier videos, but when it froze the other day, I thought, was this what happened earlier when I had to replace the hard drive? And if it is, yeah. So anyway, and I know a friend of mine is going to be watching this, the one who's going to be getting the MacBook. We'll talk about it later, okay? There's no need to worry. Anyway, on to this video. So the MacBook Air has become Apple's essentially economy laptop, if you will. And it's done something interesting. Like I said, I'm getting the 256GB model. Apple's MacBook Air estimated to become $7 billion revenue driver. These things are really, really selling. More than likely the 128 and 256GB flash units are really selling. Because, again, this is essentially the new MacBook. Now, for those of you who are going to say, but the MacBook is still available, yes it is, but you need to be in the educational sector either as a teacher. Actually, I think you have to be a teacher, a school administrator, or something in that capacity in order to get it, and I think you could probably only buy it in bulk. So for the average consumer, the MacBook Air is the new MacBook. I think the PC industry has taken notice with the likes of the Toshiba Z830, the Asus Ultrabook UX31, which I did play with the other day. I thought the keyboard was a little bit flat. Finish was rather nice, though. And the Lenovo U300S. No doubt there are going to be more Ultrabooks that are coming out, but I do think the PC industry has taken notice, otherwise this flood of Ultrabooks would not have occurred. If Apple's truly serious about taking away the optical disc, which I think they are. Let's look at the MacBook Air. Again, it's become a truly usable daily driver. In fact, rumor is they're going to have a 15-inch model out in March. They've taken away the optical drive from the Mac Mini. For those of you who are wondering, notice this is not the Mac Mini server. This is the Mac Mini, the base Mac Mini. You can no longer get an optical drive with the Mac Mini unless you're willing to get the super drive that they still call it the MacBook Air Super Drive, but it's the Super Drive that runs both on the Air and now on the Mini. Here's the current generation iMac switching over to the desktops. Now, yes, the Mac Mini is a desktop, so I should say keeping with the desktops. But anyway, so here's the current iMac, and as we know, we have an optical drive. This is the Apple Cinema display, but I have a very strong feeling that this or something similar to it is going to end up becoming the next iMac. I suspect the iMac's going to become thinner, and it may just be, nothing more than display. This bezel down here at the bottom where the Apple is may end up going away. I don't know, but it would be rather interesting to see. I mean, if the next version of the iMac is going to be just screen. In fact, there was a patent I remember seeing someplace, maybe on multiple sites. It was a patent where the screen here could bounce back to a level that would be almost level with your desk and enable a more natural multi-touch experience. Now, as to whether or not that'll come to fruition, Now on the desktop side, though, if this is to be the next iMac, the keyword here is if. I've heard nothing to that effect, but if we think about Apple's design language, this probably would end up being next out of the gate. PC side, a lot of people are still using towers, which I understand why. There are a lot of people who, PC technicians in particular, who enjoy upgrading their system, also gamers. But I think the gamers and the custom builders are something of a niche market, especially the PC gamer. Now, I'm not talking about the new generation of PC gamer who's playing things like The Sims, Angry Birds Online, and stuff like that, Facebook games. I'm talking about the generation of PC gamer who was, shall we say, first-person shooter for the win, and was more concerned about frame rates than they were about gameplay. Not to say gameplay wasn't important, they just felt that they had to have the best graphics card to get the best out of their game when, and to me, gameplay should have taken precedent, but that's just me. I'm not trying to offend anyone. Anyway, so the PC industry, still using towers, but even their all-in-ones. Let's take a look at this Omni 120T. Take a look here at the side profile here. Still has an optical drive. Now, what I'm wondering is, get out of there. If we go back to the current iMac, again, you know, it has the optical drive. If this cinema display is going to end up being the basis for the next iMac, now again, I have not heard anything. I'm just basing this on my experience with Apple. And the way they seem to go with their designs. I just spotted a trend when I saw the Mac Mini without the optical drive, and now we got a 15-inch MacBook Air that's coming supposedly without an optical drive. I really do think that media is long gone. But it depends on who you are. I admit that I still have many DVDs, and that's why I'm going to get the external super drive for my Air. But for the most part, besides watching DVDs, I don't use my optical drive anymore. And with things like the App Store, I don't know if too many people ever will. Chris Perillo is even predicting that Windows 8 is going to have their own App Store. So, do you think that optical media is dead? I think it is, but it's going to take the PC industry, the Windows PC industry, a little bit of time to catch up. I think it's going to take the drive of a new iMac without an optical drive for this to happen. Because again, like I was saying earlier, we got the MacBook Air, the more usable Air that has driven this flood of ultrabook, very capable daily driver laptops that are very thin and cosmetically very elegant. I think that in order for this to take place in the desktop industry, we've already got that going on with the iMac, but a lot of people, the PC industry must see the iMac as nothing more than a net top, because the net tops are the closest thing we've come. Or did I say iMac? I'm sorry. The Mac Mini. The closest thing they've got to the Mac Mini in the PC industry that I'm aware of are these little net tops that really don't do much beyond surfing the net, which I guess it depends on who you ask. In a way, the Mac Mini is the same. But I think for true desktops like the towers and the all-in-ones, it's going to have to take... I seriously think it's going to take Apple bringing out a brand new iMac in the shape of the cinema display or similar to drive the PC industry to the death of the optical disc. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, what about Blu-rays? I admit that I have one Blu-ray movie, that would be The Social Network. I don't know. I really don't know. It depends on what camp you're in. I personally, I'll watch my DVDs, but besides watching the news on TV or maybe DVDs here on my MacBook, the current collection of which I already own, I don't really buy movies on disc anymore. I'll rent them, but I find that after maybe watching them 2 or 3 times, I won't watch them again for at least a few years. And to have the physical copy just sitting there taking up space, you know, I just think that the optical medium in general is very, very clearly on its way out. And as to whether or not Apple's actually driving that, I think they are, but that's just me. You know, a lot of people have different opinions on this. I'm not saying, you know, I'm not saying they are, they're not, but I honestly think that they might be, because to my understanding, they introduced and did away with the floppy drive, and I think they're doing the same with the optical drive. It's just going to take a while for people to catch up. I think Apple's taken a while to catch up with themselves, and what do I mean by that? Well, again, the MacBook Air has not necessarily been a usable daily system. It's been more of a secondary system until this year, with the new 256 gig solid state disk and the Core i5. So I don't know. Do you think the optical drive is dead? Thank you for watching. Comments are welcome, and have a nice day.